Hello, everybody, and welcome back to AWS On Air. We are live here at the SF Summit here in San Francisco, California, and I am one of your hosts, Kyle Lee, Senior Developer Advocate on the AWS Amplify team. I have my co-host here. AM, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm AM Grabelny, Solution Architect and Court Jester of AWS On Air.
Awesome.
I titled myself. Nobody gave me that title, and they will deny that I have it. But tell us about you, Steve.
Yep, I'm Steve Rice. I'm Principal Product Manager for AWS AppConfig, based out of HQ2 in the Washington, D.C. area.
Wonderful.
Very cool. So, I know that we're here for something.
Yes, we are.
I'm not. I'm just here.
And it's something called feature flags?
Yes, feature flags.
What are feature flags?
All right,
like, we need to break that down for the audience, because I only recently come to find out what feature flags were like 4 years ago, and they blew my mind, and I love them now.
Excellent. Yes, they're an indispensable tool. So a feature flag is more like a development technique that software engineering teams would use. You can write your code and you can deploy it to production, but you hide it behind a feature flag, a feature toggle. So none of your users are accessing this code on production, but when you're ready, you can turn that on. You can turn on just for yourself, test it out. You can turn on for you and your friends, test it out. And then you can turn on for all of your customers. So sort of the old way of doing things, and I remember doing it this way, was we're going to launch a feature, and our product team wants to launch it on Friday night at 10 p.m. You all know that's a terrible idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
that's a great way to spend a weekend.
Yeah,
Push to production on Fridays.
Exactly.
That's all.
Exactly. And the old way of doing it was, okay, you got it. You know your deployment takes about 45 minutes. So at 8:15, I'm going to start that deployment, and I hope the timing works out, and you hope that deployment goes okay. And you know, again, at the right time, suddenly that feature is just available for everybody. But if something goes wrong, it goes wrong for everybody, and things are really bad on a late Friday night when you're trying to scramble during a launch. The new way of doing it with feature flags is, I'm actually going to deploy this on Wednesday, and I'm going to hide it behind a feature flag. And then come that time on Friday night, the only thing you're doing is you're flipping a little configuration file, and you're turning it on. Again, 1% of your users, 10% of your users. By the end of the hour, maybe it's for 100% of your users. And all along the way, you're measuring what does that look like for users? Are the metrics where you thought they were? So it's a much safer way to allow you to release new features and functionality with confidence.
And I want to clarify like just how awesome this really is, because what it does is it actually makes it so that you have your app out in production and you can turn on and off features at any given notice without having to push another release out. In my case, it would be like to a mobile app store, so like the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. So you can turn on and off these features without a whole entire new build, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and the off part's important. If something goes wrong, you don't have to come in on a Saturday and figure out how to deploy a whole new stack of your code. You just flip it to off, and then you can wait for Monday morning, and then you can work on what the real fix is. So off and something goes wrong is a very helpful tool.
I mean, this is just one of like incredible amount of features that have been launched over the last decade in software development. I remember when we didn't launch features.
Right.
We just launched whole huge
whole
swaths
monolithic,
of code, right?
Yep.
And targeting a specific feature was not even possible.
Absolutely.
But we've made the steps within the DevOps movement and DevOps tooling to get to a point where, we can control a singular feature.
Yep.
And now with AppConfig, we can do that at the level of granularity where a user A can see it and user B cannot. And we can target that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that is a recommended best practice. AppConfig is actually used internally inside of Amazon very extensively. We're actually a top 30 service inside of Amazon in terms of the usage that we have. And so over time, we've refined the functionality of it. And then 2 years ago, we launched it externally to our customers. And so they kind of benefit from those best practices that we've learned along the way.
And not to derail too much into, because I know we're here to talk about feature flags, we're here to talk about Jira.
Jira, yes.
But AppConfig in general isn't just limited to feature flags. There are other, can you give us a brief overview of the other things that AppConfig?
Feature flags is kind of the shorthand of what we do, but really the broader term is called dynamic configuration. It's configuration that's read at runtime of your application. So your app is running on production and it's constantly checking configuration files, and that could be once a second, that could be once every 10 seconds, could be once an hour, depending on your application. And when something changes in that configuration, your application changes. So it's a way of pushing out these changes safely. And let me tell you about another use case that our customers have used AppConfig for that's not as much feature flags. It's operational tuning.
Yeah.
So you may want to sit there and be able to throttle up and down, for example, the number of simultaneous background tasks that your application is allowed to do. You know, it might be busy time and you have an expensive thing that's going on in the background and you say, my CPU is starting to go up, I want to throttle that down. So you can push out a lower number as a feature flag, or sorry, not as a dynamic configuration, it could be a feature flag too, that will start to reduce the number of simultaneous background tasks. So it allows this really fine tuning of your application.
This is like part of the story with observability, right?
Yes.
Like it's great that you can observe things, but if you can't change things based off those observations, what's the point?
Right? Exactly.
So tell me a little bit, because you had mentioned Jira, and I had worked with Jira in the past, and it's a very popular software that's used in a lot of different companies. So tell me a little bit about what that integration is like, and like what does this offer for somebody that uses Jira?
So I have a demo. Should I jump into the demo now, or should I?
Actually, yeah, I'd rather see it go in
that might
person.
explain it a little better. So just before the demo, I do want to talk, there might be some folks out there that don't know what Jira is.
Yeah.
And so Jira is a very popular tool by Atlassian, a great partner of ours, and we've been working with them to integrate feature flags into Jira. And so what that means is that your feature flag lifecycle, from when you create it, to when you update it, to when you turn it on, to when you delete it, all those lifecycle events of a feature flag get put into Jira. One thing that Jira does really well is talk about the definition of done. And so, again, a lot of software teams talk about that in agile. When do we know that the feature is really done? Well,
done,
and done.
Yeah, and final, do not touch, absolutely done.
Exactly. And so with feature flags, your code may be done, you may have pushed it to production, but you're not delivering value to users until users can access the feature. And so done, and maybe done means that users are accessing the feature flag is turned on. So that's an important event that we integrate with Jira, and we push all these events into Jira. And again, I can show you the demo.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at it, because that's the part that I'm really interested in.
You've got a device here, too.
I do have a device. It's called an Amazon Echo, and I am going to dare to do a live thing. There's a lot of background noise. We'll see, but okay, so I think you can see my screen here. What I've done is I've written in an Alexa skill. Ooh, it just went off. Let me mute it. I've written an Alexa skill that's using a Lambda function here. And I'm a dad, and so what this does is it goes through a list of dad jokes, and it'll tell a dad joke. It'll select one randomly, and it'll tell a dad joke, okay? So first I'm going to try, and again, I hope this works. Alexa, start AppConfig demo.
I can't do that on this device.
Alexa, stop. This was the ambient noise. Alexa.
I found an ambient noise.
Alexa, stop. Demo. Alexa, start AppConfig demo.
I can't do that on this device.
Oh my goodness.
To
One more
use your
try, and
Echo to
otherwise I'll
control
just
your
walk you through
video
what it
device,
does.
We're all
just
on
go
the edge
to
of
the
our
TV and video section of
Alexa.
settings.
Stop. Alexa, start AppConfig demo.
Here is a dad joke for you. I have got a great joke about construction, but I am still working on it.
Oh, perfect dad joke.
Wow. One-liner, yeah.
Flawless
Steve, you're going to
execution.
put a lot of us out of work. Okay?
I apologize.
am frightened of this.
Okay, so
No, I got to have that.
So there's an Alexa skill here, and let's say actually the skill becomes very popular, and you start to get some overseas users, and you say, I just don't want to do English dad jokes, but I want to actually add dad jokes in French.
Oh, yeah.
As
There
one
we
would
go.
do.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like one of those cooking shows where I can take something that I've already baked.
Oh, it smells delicious.
Oh, thank you. And I take it out of the oven. It's already done here. Here's my new code. Okay, and I'm going to walk you through this new code. So again, I have this skill that will have English jokes. And then here's my French jokes. There's 5 French jokes. It'll select one of them randomly. And up here, I have some code that calls AppConfig for a feature flag. And I want to highlight this part right here. All right, it's going to get a particular feature flag, and it is going, oops, sorry, no, this one. That's where it calls a feature flag. It's going to enable French dad jokes. And I've set it to true. If that's true, then it's going to do French dad jokes, okay?
Got it.
I think, not to throw you off, I think this is a key piece for the audience to understand here. If you've not experienced AppConfig or feature flags before, it's literally lines of code added to your applications, right?
So, and it's kind of an if-then.
Yeah.
If flag is on, then do this. If flag is off, do this. Or use what is the data that comes from AppConfig to make some decisions inside of your app.
Right, and it's calling out to a centralized storage location.
Yep, exactly.
Which is AppConfig.
And right now we have French dad jokes turned off, but but you're about to enable the French dad jokes.
Yep. So I'm toggling over to the AppConfig interface here, and I already created a feature flag. It's called Enable French Dad Jokes. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy it after I turn it on. So I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to save the new version here of the configuration data. And then I'm going to deploy it. Now I mentioned, you might say, what does that mean to deploy things? I mentioned that a best practice inside of Amazon and other places is to deploy things slowly. When we release software at Amazon, unless it's a break glass scenario, we take days to do it. And the reason we do that is so we can measure that 1%. How does the 1% behave? How does the 10% behave? The 20% behave? And all along the way, we can release software carefully. Now again, there are some situations where you need to break glass and get something out immediately, and AppConfig allows you to do that. But
you said something very important there too, I want to highlight.
Yeah.
You said measure, right?
Yes.
So like this is part of the story.
Yep.
Feature flags are part of this. You also need the actual measurement piece inside whatever you're running too, so you can make decisions based off when to pull back, when to release to further audience, etc.
Yep. One of the integrations we have with AppConfig is an integration with CloudWatch.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And so what happens if a CloudWatch alarm goes off that you've specified during your rollout, actually AppConfig will automatically roll back whatever configuration change you made to the previous version of the flag. You don't have to do anything. It would just automatically roll back because it says there's an alarm, let me back this out, and it restores it to the previous version.
Got it.
So that is, again, another safety mechanism. Safety of rolling out feature flags is a key component of what we do.
I love it.
So inside of AppConfig, we have a lot of different choices of your rollout velocity. We call them deployment strategies. I'm going to do kind of an anti-pattern because we're on a demo, and I'm going to roll something out instantly here. Oop. Let me go back. I hit the wrong button. Of course, instant. And I'm going to start deployment. So I'm pushing out that feature flag, and the skill will pick it up. Okay. So now, again, I hope this works. Let me test this out. Alexa, start AppConfig demo in French.
Voici une blague de papa. La maîtresse demande à Toto, conjugue-moi le verbe savoir tous les temps. Je sais qu'il pleut, je sais qu'il fera beau, je sais qu'il neigeait, il répond.
There you go.
No idea
you
what
guys
it
get
said,
that?
but
yes.
I know
funny.
that it wasn't English.
It was funny. It was funny.
We'll trust you, I guess.
Yeah. Trust me that was a great dad joke in French.
I took French in high school and forgot all of it.
Okay. Well, again, it's hard to hear in here. You can use that excuse.
Sure, yeah. I'm deaf in this
That's
year, so even more. Yeah.
Perfect. So again, yes, what that did is it turned on, again for all users, but it turned on a new feature that allows me to, if something went wrong and that didn't work, I could roll it back immediately. And it would roll back automatically if there were some CloudWatch alarms going off after I made that change. So it's sort of a safe feature flag. It's not just feature flags, it's a safe feature flag.
Got it. And since all of this is done in code, you can determine what conditions are met before that feature flag is turned on.
Absolutely.
So if, like you said, in this scenario, this feature is supposed to be available overseas. So if we only want it to be overseas, then you could code it up to be that way, so where only people overseas are going to have this feature enabled.
100%. You can set different targets for what audience or what environment you want to receive that configuration update. Awesome. So the other part I haven't showed you yet is Jira.
Yes.
So the integration with Jira, again, we work with Atlassian. They have great APIs for this kind of thing. And we basically, for every single feature flag that's in AppConfig, you can configure this to create a unique issue inside of Jira and track it that way. So you can have an epic for your feature that has all of your tasks in it and all of your stories in it, and then this can get added into that epic so that sort of the last thing you see is, yep, the feature flag is on.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
And
so,
if it's
go
not
ahead.
in Jira, did it actually happen?
Exactly,
That's,
it didn't exist.
that's
Well,
how you should be thinking,
yes.
honestly. Like,
At
yeah.
a previous company I worked at, we had that mindset. If it's not in Jira, it doesn't exist. You have to write everything down. Right, absolutely. So I'm going to show you the Jira issue here. It is the enable flag jokes feature flag. And you can see that enable equals true inside here. So that's when I turned it on. Enable equals true. If you look at my history here a little bit, you can see that 2 minutes ago I deployed a new version. The environment I chose was demo, so I deployed that to a demo environment. But this has the whole history of the whole feature flag, the whole life cycle of the feature flag, which again I think is an important part. When you think about the life cycle of features and feature management, tracking that thing end to end. And one thing that I'm not going to do here, but if you decide to delete the feature flag inside of AppConfig, we'll also put that into Jira as a good reminder, clean up your code.
Oh, nice.
One problem with feature flags is you can leave a lot of stale flags around, and you want to be able to clean that up. And let me show you one more thing inside of AppConfig to help with that problem too. So I'm going to go back here to my feature flag, and I'm going to actually show you. It's a small little field, but it makes a big difference. You see this field here, it says short-term flag.
Yeah.
So I designated this because I know that I'm launching these French jokes. After its launch, I'm going to want to clean up that feature flag and clean up my code. So you check that checkbox, and then it makes it really easy to find which of your feature flags you need to clean up. You might want to leave some of your feature flags around for a long time. Like I said, some of those operational tunings of background tasks, those things, those will live forever.
Got it.
But a lot of your feature flags, when you're launching something, after you've launched, the next sprint after launch, you should have a task in there to remember to clean up your feature flag in your code.
That's great for maintenance on code. Like that's really actually an amazing feature. Now, one of the things that I enjoy most about feature flags in general is the fact that it doesn't necessarily have to be the engineer to implement, or not necessarily implement, but to enable and disable these features. So you can actually have that task taken care of, whether it be like somebody watching that Jira lane or whatever it is, and it could be like marketing team or whoever that is going to actually be in charge of turning on and off those feature flags.
Absolutely. That's why we have this interface here. It's not being shown anymore, but we have a pretty simple interface with a really simple toggle to turn on and off. So that Friday night example that I gave, yeah, there we go, it's back. That Friday night example I gave, it doesn't have to be the engineers to wait up on a Friday night. You can have your marketing team turn it on and off. Of course, it's in the AWS console, so we have a lot of different permissions that you can set up to allow certain things and not allow certain things. So it's a safe way to let non-developers, to sort of democratize the launch of features to non-developers.
Exactly.
We had a question from Twitch chat.
Yeah, great.
It's specifically about a project management application called ClickUp, but I'm going to extend the question out on their behalf.
Okay, great.
Any plans to integrate with other services?
We have talked about it as a team, and you may know this, but at Amazon, pretty much 90% of our product roadmap is driven from customer requests.
We've got one.
Yes, we've got one right there.
You go. We'll add that.
I can't say it'll go to the top of our backlog.
Of course
but I'll take that. And again,
another data point.
Yes, exactly. These are the kind of things we love to hear feedback from customers, and that really shapes our roadmap.
Well, that's actually a great segue into figuring out what's the best way to give the team feedback on what the AppConfig team needs. Like, where does the AppConfig team look in order to find out what customers are looking for?
Yeah, we do a lot of things. We look at our internal data, of course. That's sort of passive data, passive customer requests. When we look at our data and we see, seems like people are stumbling over this one thing, that gives us a strong clue, a strong signal that we need to address that without a customer asking us. Then we have the more proactive way of getting customer feedback, and that comes in two ways. One, we proactively reach out to a lot of our customers. I do that. A good part of my week is trying to reach out to customers saying, would you like to meet with us? When can you meet? And I'm kind of annoying about it to the customers probably, but we love meeting with customers. We prioritize any customer meeting above anything that we do. And then the inbound feedback. So probably the best way, we have a couple different ways through our AWS support team. We have a great Twitter, AWS support Twitter handle. And if you post something there, it always gets routed to us, and we always consider it. And I'll say most of the time, those interactions end up with a meeting, face-to-face meetings. Because there's a lot of nuances in these feature requests. We want to know how would a customer use this rather than my just assumption as a product manager, oh, this is how I would use it. I want to hear how our customers would use some of these features.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Steve. This has been an amazing demo. Really appreciate you coming on, showing us all the great things that AppConfig and Feature Flags can do, especially within the Jira demo. Really loved that. Thank you so much for coming on, and we look forward to having you back.
I would love to come back. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy Feature